Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am Marcia from Mom Hunts Dead People, and this is the Lizzie Borden trial. We're covering the inquest of Lizzie Borden, and today we have Alice M. Russell. So let's find out what she has to say about the day of the murder and what she knows about the Borden family. All right, everyone, let's dig in. Alice M. Russell. What is your name? Alice M. Russell. Where do you live? 33 Borden Street. How far is that from the Borden house? It's the next square. Between 2nd and Main Streets? Yes, sir. Borden Street is the next street. You are well acquainted with the Borden family, all of them. So this is like really great if you're following along with the Sanborn maps, because you can whip out the appropriate maps, look for Borden Street, look where the Borden household was, and be able to find her house fairly quickly to get a rough estimate on how far away that actually was. And because you're using the Sanborn maps, which were insurance maps, you would also be able to figure out what the houses were made out of. Yes, sir. Was it at your house Miss Lizzie was visiting the night before? Yes, sir. Spent the evening there? Yes, sir. When did she go home? I think about 9 o'clock. It may have been 5 minutes before or after. Was that quite a frequent thing for her to visit you? She has done so more this summer because she has not had quite so much outside work. But we have always visited, been friends. Have you visited there a great deal? Yes. Sometimes perhaps I would go in quite often, and then again, quite a spell I would not go. When you went in, did you see the whole family or Miss Lizzie or Emma? I saw the girls mostly. Your acquaintance was mostly with the daughters? Yes, sir. Not so much with the old people. No, sir. It makes me wonder how old this guy is, that he's referring to them as the old people yet again. Now, you do have to remember, because I tend to forget because they keep referring to them as girls, the girls, that Lizzie and Emma were not exactly young, but still just referring to the parents as the old people. I'm hoping that my child and his friends don't refer to me and my husband as the old people. Where did you usually see them? Upstairs. What they used for a sitting room usually. Which room was that? What they call the guest room. It was used as a sitting room, generally, for them. Who used that as a sitting room? The two girls. Was that where they usually sat when they were at home? I think so. That is, so far as you know. So far as I know. Do you recollect the last time you visited them? The last time I visited them or visited there? Either one. I went there, I am sure. Once after Emma had gone to Fairhaven. Who were you more particularly intimate with? Emma or Lizzie or both? I don't think there was very much difference. What was the first you saw or observed or heard of this tragedy? I think it was about 11:15 when I saw Bridget coming up the steps. And my work is so I can see anyone coming up the steps where I was at work. I knew there was trouble because Lizzie told me Mr. and Mrs. Borden were sick the night before, very sick. So the first impression I got was that somebody was sick there. She told you Tuesday night they were sick. Yes, sir. I stepped to the door and I says, "What is it, Bridget? Are they worse?" Or Maggie. She says, "Yes, I don't know, but that Mr. Borden is dead." I don't know whether she said come over. I don't remember what she said. I said, "I will come right over as soon as I change my dress," which I did. That may seem a little odd that she wanted to get changed before coming over, but one, they would have had house clothes and public clothes, like, your going out clothes. And it was, well, I guess it wasn't fairly early, but it was early-ish in the day. So if you think about this, like right now in our time period, this would be like, you're just kind of lounging around clothes. And then you find out someone was dead and you're like, oh, I can't show up wearing this. I mean, that, you know what, I'm going to get dressed and then I'm going to panic. Or other people may just out and out panic. But their idea of being proper when you go out was much more firm in their mind than we do nowadays. Like I've seen plenty of time people, go to the store and hair curlers and pajama pants, and you just do what you do, and everybody's like, well, whatever, I guess they had something important to do. It would have been absolutely unheard of in my grandmother's time. Absolutely unheard of. She did not tell you how he had been killed or anything of that sort. She did not? No. She said what? She says he is worse. I don't know, but what Mr. Borden is dead. You did not take much time to change your dress. No, sir, I did not. Probably not. She was probably panicked, even knowing that they were sick, and that I'm assuming from what she had just said is that she believes they were very ill the night before. Now someone's dead, they died of illness. So she probably would have gotten dressed pretty much in a hurry, but still presentable for being seen by who knows who. And we do know who, because like half the town showed up. You went over as quick as you could. Yes, sir. When you got there, who did you find there? I had a very confused idea. I met Lizzie. At the same time, there was somebody else there. Who, I don't know. Mrs. Churchill? I think so. Where did you meet Miss Lizzie? I think about the threshold of the kitchen door, where the screen door is. No, I think the kitchen door. From the hall into the kitchen? I think so. You found the screen door unfastened and went right in. Yes. Did Maggie go back with you? No, she went ahead of me. What was said and done when you were there, as well as you can remember it? I have a very confused idea of it. I have tried my best to have it clear. I met Lizzie, and I said, sit right down here, Lizzie, in the kitchen. And she sat down. I don't seem to remember what she said or done, except she says, will somebody find Mrs. Borden? She seemed to be very much overcome. Did she tell you anything about where to look for her? No, sir. Then I remember of Maggie and Mrs. Churchill starting, and Maggie says, oh, I can't go through that room. Dr. Bowen says, get me a sheet and I will cover Mr. Borden over. They started and went after that. Then when I came down, I remember Mrs. Churchill saying, oh, Mrs. Borden, this way. Whenever she said or did give me that impression that she had gone too, I did not then know either of them were murdered. I supposed it was from this impression of the poison that I had had in my mind. I love the fact that even she is acknowledging that Mrs. Borden is quite a bit of a drama queen. She's like, oh, Mrs. Borden, this way. So you can just tell by the added words of this way that she is absolutely dramatizing it as she speaks. She's like, she said it this way. When did you first learn that they were murdered? I got Lizzie into the dining room, onto the dining room lounge, and we were there. I don't know how long, when her uncle came in. That is Morse. Yes, sir. And something he said about their being murdered, and looked up to her. Then it dawned on my mind that it was cold-blooded murder. That is the first idea I had, that it was murder. You did not see Morse until he got into the room where Lizzie was. No, I had not seen Mr. Morse for years before. That room where you were with Lizzie was what room? The dining room. The first room I was in was the kitchen. The sitting room was where the murdered man was. Yes, sir. Who was with you and with Lizzie? In the dining room. I don't think there was anyone. No one in the dining room except Mr. Morse came in. What did you find Lizzie's appearance and condition to be when you got there? Dazed. I suppose she made no talk at all, except what you have said. I don't know what she said. She said something. I says, Lizzie, don't talk. When you found her, she was in the kitchen, you say? Yes, sir. She went with you then into the dining room? Yes, sir. How long did you remain there with her? Remain where? In the dining room. I haven't any idea. Where then? I don't know whether I guessed or who suggested her going upstairs, but I know she went upstairs. Did you go up with her? I don't remember that. Were you upstairs? Yes, sir. I was up there. I think if I did not go with her, I must have been there very soon after. Did she go straight to her room so far as you remember? Yes, sir. Did she take off any of her clothes? Yes, I know. That sounds weird. I don't know what I was doing, but I came into the room and found her fastening a pink wrapper on. Did she change her shoes or stockings? No, sir. She could not have done that. I was not out of the room long enough. Did you remain there with her? Where and how long? How long did you remain there with her in her room after she got to her room? I don't know. I think she set me down. I don't remember. I can't tell it. I know she made this remark when she said it. I don't know. Something about an undertaker. She says if they have to have an undertaker, as I suppose they will, have Winwood. Did you stay until supper time or anything like it? What do you mean? In the room. I was in and out of the room all the afternoon. She remained in the room? Yes, so far as I know. When did you finally go home and leave the house? Somewhere near supper time? No, I don't think so. I went home near 6. I don't know. It seems to me it was daylight because I remember somebody stepping up to me and walking over home with me. You don't mean the next morning? No, I remember one of my old friends walking down with me and me excusing myself and going upstairs. It must have been before dark. Had Emma got there before you went home? Oh, yes. Who did you leave Miss Lizzie with? Who do you mean? In the house? She remained in her room, as I understand you. Yes, sir. I don't know who I left her with, but I think Mrs. Holmes and Emma. Mrs. Charles J. Holmes? Yes, sir. They were there. We intended, some of us, not to leave Lizzie. We knew the state she was in. When one was out, the other made a point to be there. Which was which, I don't know. That makes sense. You got a friend who just found out that both of her parents were murdered, and you kind of want to make sure they're not going to become hysterical and, I don't know, claw at dead bodies or something. I've never been in a situation where I've had to be present in the home where my parents were murdered, so I don't know how I would react. And I sincerely hope that none of you have either. At any time, did you have any talk with the servant girl that you recollect? I don't remember of ever saying a word to her, or of hearing her say anything. No, sir. I did not hear Maggie talk much, and I have not at any other time. Did you hear Mr. Moore say anything about it at any time that day? I don't remember of anything. There might have been general talk. I don't remember of anything. Do you remember of anything that Lizzie said about it that remains in your memory? No, I have not asked her but one question all through it. Will you tell me what that is? Yes, sir. I asked her what she went to the barn to do. She says my screen and window. She gave me to understand they did not come together right or something. I was ironing handkerchiefs and my flat iron was not hot, and I thought I would go out and get that while I was waiting. What did she say she went to get? A piece of tin or iron to fix the screen. I found the handkerchiefs part ironed and part damp. I took the damp ones and shook them out. Okay, see, now we have a problem, Lizzie. I was kind of on your side. But if your story isn't straight, I mean, do people remember things exactly? Do they say, like, to one person, I was looking for iron for fishing reels to go fishing next week? And then they tell the other person, I was looking to fix my window and my window screen? No, Lizzie, they don't. Sorry. You're not looking too good here. Now, if you had told both of them using different words, but the same gist of it, that you were getting iron for your fishing that you're going to do next week, that would be different. But now you're saying you were in the barn for two separate reasons. So unless you can say that you were like, hey, I need iron for both of these things and I'm going to look for it for both of these things. You're not looking too hot here, Liz. But the part where she was ironing the handkerchiefs does appear to be true, because now this witness is saying, yeah, I found handkerchiefs. They were half ironed and half still damp. Did you find the ironing board? I don't remember seeing it. A little ironing board. I don't remember it. When did she tell you of the piece of tin for the screen? The first day. I remember asking her that question and her answering me. I suppose you heard from somebody that she was at the barn? Yes. Do you remember who you heard that from? I think I heard her say it. I think somebody asked her in the kitchen before we went out, and she said she was in the barn, that she went to the barn. A piece of tin for the screen for which window? A piece of tin or iron. She says, you know, there is everything up there, and I went to see if I could not get a piece of tin or iron to fix it, the screen or the window. I don't know which she was going to fix. Do you recollect anything else that she said? I can't unless something was asked me. It might come to me then. I can't, as I am trying to tell you. Okay, now that's legit. I mean, a lot of times if you ask somebody, like, tell me everything about an apple, people will tell you a bunch of stuff about an apple, and then you're like, but do you know how it grows? And they're like, well, yeah, of course I know how it grows. But you didn't tell me when I asked you to tell me everything about an apple. So, I mean, it's hard to think of everything unless you're kind of prompted, like, but do you know this? But it's important to kind of have like open-ended questions, because if you have closed-end question, it kind of directs the person to an answer. So it's important to have those open-ended questions when asking someone. I do not like to ask this question, but I feel obliged to. Did you see enough to notice what the relations were between Miss Lizzie and her mother? You you don't like to ask the question? He doesn't, folks. Y'all heard him. He does not like to ask the question, but he feels obliged. Because I thought that was his favorite question. He's only asked it of every single person up until now, including asking it of Lizzie. In all my acquaintance, which is 10 years sure, and most of that time has been, part of the time quite intimate, I never yet heard any wrangling in the family. I have got to answer the question, and I will say I don't think they were congenial. What gave you the impression they were not congenial? Because their tastes differed in every way. One liked one thing, and the other liked another. So she's basically saying they were not. They didn't bicker, they didn't fight, but they weren't like particularly close because their differences were a lot. And there are definitely families like that. They're not hostile. The family members are not hostile to each other, but they're also not super close because they just have different interests. Were they together very much? I don't think they were very much. I suppose what you say about Lizzie is also true of Emma. About the same. It was not always the same, but it would be hard work to tell. I judge by your saying they had a sitting room upstairs. They sat up there a great deal. Their stepmother did not sit up there with them. I don't think so. Did you ever hear Lizzie speak of any trouble she had had with her mother? Yes, I suppose I have. I have heard her say that Mrs. Borden thought so and so, the same as any family. Did she express to you ever that she regarded her mother as untruthful or deceitful? I don't think she ever did. Did she ever allude particularly to any trouble she ever had with her mother? No, sir. Did she ever tell you what the trouble was? Nothing further than she was a stepmother. The whole thing was, as far as I could see, that any own mother might have had more influence over the father. It was the father more than the mother. What do you mean? The father was the head of the house. They had to do as he thought. Mrs. Borden did not control the house. The whole summing up of it was that. Were her relations with her father cordial? So far as I know, I never saw anything different. Were they congenial? I should not suppose they would be, knowing their different natures. The different natures of the father and mother and Lizzie? Yes, each of them. What was the difference in their natures? Mr. Borden was a plain living man with rigid ideas and very set. They were young girls. He had earned his money, and he did not care for the things that young women in their position naturally would. And he looked upon those things, I don't know just how to put it. He did not appreciate girls. No, I don't think he did. Their ideas were more modern than his with regard to the way of living, do you mean? Yes, sir. How did you get this? From the girls' talk or what you observed? From what I observed. Everybody knew that Andrew Borden's ideas were. He was a very plain living man. He did not care for anything different. It always seemed to me as if he did not see why they should care for anything different. Did they complain about it? Yes, they used to think it ought to be different. There was no reason why it should not be. They used to think it might be different. Lizzie or Emma or both. Both. There was never any wrangling between them. No, I never heard any. They had quite refined ideas, and they would like to have been cultured girls, and would like to have had different advantages. And it would natural for girls to express themselves that way. I think it would have been very unnatural if they had not. He did not give them the advantages of education that they thought they ought to have had. I don't know as it is just that, but people cannot go and do and have unless they have ample means to do it. Which stairway did she go up when she went to her room? The front stairway. Do you remember of Lizzie going into the room where her father lay dead after you got there? No, sir. We had to pass through. We passed through this way. Did you go into the hall? We had to. And had to go through the sitting room. I went right so. This is all she was in the room, I'm positive of, until she was removed. Passed through the corner? Yes. Did she go into the room where her mother was? No, sir. This is an inquiry in which every person is interested. To get to the bottom facts, is there any other I have not asked you about, which you know which is material to the question, that you have not stated? Can you tell me anything else concerning this matter that you have not already done? It is as much your duty to tell as it is mine to ask. Well, I am much better conditioned to tell it than I have been. That is one reason why I postponed it as long as I could. Is there any other fact that you can tell me that you have not told me? The morning of the funeral, I went out to do some errands, and when I came back, my hair was tumbled, and I took my dress waist off and combed my hair. When I had gotten through, I put my waist on again, and had nearly finished it. And I turned and I saw something in under the bed that frightened me almost to pieces. You were sleeping in the house? Yes, sir. That big stick? Yes, sir. It is the one you gave to the marshal, the round whittled stick. I legit forgot about the stick. Totally forgot about the stick. Yes, sir. Had you been sleeping in the house every night? Yes, sir. You slept there that night? Yes, sir. That is what frightened me so much. It was in my room. That was the room Mr. and Mrs. Borden occupied. Yes, sir. I occupied that when I was there. When you went into the daughter's room, did you have to go downstairs and come up? You don't have to if the other side was unlocked. After the tragedy, was it unlocked so you could go through? Yes, sir. It was open then? Yes, sir. After the tragedy, the door was unlocked? Yes, sir. So when you wanted to go to Lizzie and Emma's, you went in through? Yes, sir. When did you first see that stick? I think between 9 and 10. I don't think I could have gone longer than that. It was not while you were at the funeral? No, sir. When I came back, my clothes were there. My dress was there. I went into this room I had occupied to change my dress and turned when I saw it. Where was it exactly? At the head of the bed. Under? Yes, sir. How much inside? So that I saw it as I turned? Had it been there before? I had not seen it before. Had you done what they say women do? No, I had not done that. Had not looked under the bed? No, sir. So it may have been under the bed all the time. Yes, I think in my frightened condition, as I look at it now, it might have been there. Then I was terribly alarmed because I felt as if in some way it implicated me. About as much as it implicates me, just about. Yes, as I look at it now. When you saw it, it was plainly visible. Yes, I saw the end of it. How much was it out, indicated by your fan? It was not out from under the bed at all. I could see a little ways under the bed. It had no flap hanging down, a modern French bedside. It was not a French bedside. It had no volants. You would have been likely to have seen it before, that it had been in the same place. I thought so. Did you ever find out what it was? I think it was something that her father had kept in the house. Who told you that? I told it to Detective Hanscom, and he asked Emma. I don't think the girl knew anything about it that I found it. Is there any other fact that has to do with this matter that you can tell us, that you think of it? My inquiry is not directed to or at or against anybody or in favor of anybody. He is really handling her with kid gloves versus most of the other people that he has interviewed. I don't know of anything. What sort of a dress was it Miss Lizzie had on before she changed it? I don't know. I have not any idea. You must have been badly flustered. Perhaps it does seem so to you. I can tell you, any other time I have been out with the girls, sometimes a whole season, and I could not tell you what kind of hats they wore. That was not as strange as it would seem to some people. I do not observe, and I care very little about such things. You know that she changed her dress and put on a pink wrapper? Yes, sir. Whether the dress she had on before was dark or light? I haven't any idea. I can't recollect a thing. Do you remember whether the dress she had on was all one piece or a two-part dress? No, I can't. Different skirt and a different waist? No, I can't. You spent the night there? Yes, sir. Where did you sleep that night? The first 2 nights I slept in what was Mr. and Mrs. Borden's room. The next 2 nights I slept in what was Emma's room. After you found that stick, you changed. No, that did not make me change. You did change after that? Yes. Saturday I found the stick. Did you have occasion to go downstairs with Miss Lizzie that night? Yes, sir. The first night? Yes, sir. For some purpose connected with her sickness. It was just wash water. Water we had been using for bathing. That afternoon. She started to get it out of the wash bowls. I said, I will go down with that. She says, I will go if you will go and hold the lamp. I went down with her and she emptied it. When she went into the laundry and rinsed out the pail, I stood at the door and held the lamp. Where was this? Down cellar. What time of night was that? Was it in the night? Oh, no, before we had gone to bed. How did you get downstairs that time? Do you remember? Yes, we came through the sitting room then because the bodies had been put into the dining room. The bodies had been moved then? Yes, sir. It was before you had gone to bed? Yes, sir. You were both dressed? Yes, sir. So far as I can remember in any way, and I think she was. Do you know what became of the dress that she did take off? I suppose that she hung it up in the wardrobe. You did not notice? No, sir. When I came up, her dress was fastened, and she was tying the ribbon. She had already changed the dress. Yes, they kept coming and interviewing, and I suppose she wanted to get into a respectable appearance. And that is all we have of Miss Alice M. Russell. So, as we heard, she is the same one who stayed the night of the murder or the night after the murder. She was the one in the witness statements where the officer was like, I'm bored, but I see through the crack that somebody's in the cellar and they're throwing things away, because he was on night duty and he was like incredibly bored. My interpretation, but if I was on night duty guarding a house with a woman who may be the murderer and a bunch of dead bodies, I'd probably be bored. And this was a time before cell phones. Don't know how they would have looked at it if he had whipped out a book from his pocket and started reading while on duty. Probably not favorably. So she didn't have terribly much to say. She was the one who also discovered the stick that I totally forgot about. I believe they said that it was a stick that he had whittled years ago. I don't know how much I believe that it had, whether it had been under the bed the entire time or not. It's certainly plausible she had just not seen it. If you think about all the crap shoved underneath your bed, yeah, you know you got some crap shoved underneath there. Unless you got a platform bed, yeah, you do. How often do you see stuff poking out from under there? And if you do, you're probably shoving it deeper under. But she does give a little bit of an insight into the family dynamics that we didn't have before, saying that the father didn't particularly care for the things that girls would want. I'm seeing Lizzie and Emma kind of on par with what a modern woman would have wanted in the 1890s. We're looking at the suffragette movement in that time period. So they would have been much more outspoken, wanting to hold jobs, wanting to be out and about, wanting to be more educated than they would have been normally pre-suffragette movement. And the father apparently was a bit hidebound and was like, why would you want anything other than what I give you? It's like, that's enough. And there would have been some tensions. It would have been great that they didn't have full-blown fights, or at least they never did in front of company, and company had never, their friends had never heard of them having full-blown fights. Simply that they resolved it by staying out of each other's way for the most part. So that is the end of Miss Alice Russell's Inquest. So until next time, everybody, happy hunting.